Hi everyone. Wow. When Microsoft doesn't tell you it won't record your videos on power saving mode. I'm just happens, but it's like I left my laptop on power saving mode, my tablet on power saving mode, and the previous iterations were not record. So on that one, I got played badly by my device because I switched it to power saving mode since uploading various other things takes time. But the device never tells you. Whatever. 2020, we got played at a much higher level than me with this video and the other iterations. So this gives me a good opportunity to wrap it up. We got fucking played back to back to back. It's been event after event after event, triggering us to react. Just, oh, something is happening. Look at that. It's the super cooties. It's happening and it's bigger. I react. Oh my god, it's the bees. Look out for the killer bees. React. Oh my god, it's this person. I hate this person. Make a war race. React. Back to back to back. And it kind of came up to a point where it's like, hey, wait a second. These events that are outside my peripheral vicinity, just that I'm learning early in the morning, like if I have the habit of just going on a Twitter feed or any kind of feed, early in the morning, that event that I hear about that's not even close to my vicinity, that I don't even have the granular context of their experience, the momentum of ideas that influence the momentum of mood, that influence the momentum of actions on any party. I don't have that granularity, not the granularity that's needed to fucking learn something. But that shit just makes me react and affects everyone I come into contact throughout my day because I spew it out. It's in me. It colors my perception of reality. It colors my mood. It colors my opinion on certain things and nuances. That random bit that I just learned in the morning, get me to react, is affecting the people I impact afterward because of my mood. Conscious or unconscious aspects of it. Because of my relationship with them being colored by that random news. Again, not even in my close vicinity, nor do I have the depth of granularity that can help me understand and grow from a situation. None of that. So, since the beginning of this year, it's been like back to back to back. And it's been amazing to notice that each and every time, loads of people just fell for it, got played. Self-included. Because at times when it's like, shit, I want to make a video about that. Oh! Reaction to a reaction. Caught myself. Even people in spiritual community, as soon as they started going into the racial aspect, separation, played. Because as soon as you dive into separation, you're not following the understanding of one as all. You're not feeling that aspect of understanding of one as all. You're not giving that understanding, that benefit of the doubt, which is just natural when you understand the granularity of your context leading to momentum, leading to action, and also the various factors that we don't necessarily choose. Especially when it comes to the basic aspect of, today, when I wake up today, do I want this day to be shit? Do I want to impact other people in my life with shit thoughts and shit beliefs that have been literally bombarded my way on situation I have, again, not even in my vicinity, but I'm meant to react because that sneaky little I'm going to explain that context after because it's a sneaky little mind trick, okay, that often happens until they join us or you're this. There's a very sneaky little mind trick. I got a better way to explain than the no audio video that was going on. Again, sorry, my bad, guys. Microsoft not telling me that they just we can't hold that audio on power save mode. Sorry, we'll record the video but not the audio multiple times. Anyway, I thank you all for that because this is an important topic, especially in the aspect of being played like puppets on a reaction. Because again, not in your vicinity. It's not a conscious choice that you took this morning and said, okay, today I'm going to react to a news that I don't necessarily have any context about, and that's just going to influence my workplace, my day, my mood, and everything. Of course not. You don't consciously select that. Of course you don't. Unless you're in the momentum of depression, then that's a whole different case. No, not really. You can just ask yourself, which kind of day do I want, this or that? And then you'll develop a bit further on that. But you don't consciously go and set yourself up to have that, your personal mood and perception of reality, affected by random shit that didn't necessarily happen to you in the current aspect of the present, the ever-growing present, the now, ever continuing present. So understanding this and kind of noticing at the reaction how quickly we were just sprung up to react and then bombarded all sorts of information, some being retroactively taken out of canon because certain things are canon and certain things are not canon, apparently, here and there, like all this kind of information of something that's just not happening in your current vicinity, various things. And it kind of got me to wonder, hey buddy, what the fuck? I'm in charge of my fucking mood. What the hell? And also understanding before the internet, back in the days, but before the internet, we were kind of making fun of our parents, which some would call boomers, for having that very same reaction onto newspaper and radio. Oh shit. Oh, how thou comes right back at thee. Because we're having the very same fucking reaction to a certain degree, But now it's from the internet. It's the very same process. It's the same mental process of just the identity, the ego, the mind, the hard drive being identified with something, with a specific factor, a race, an ideology, a religion, a philosophy, or whatever. Hardcore identity by the mind being poked at by something that's not even near vicinity, but just being poked at. And the mind feels it needs to defend it for its survival aspect. So it's like, okay, well, I gotta react. The second aspect is the sneaky deaky I was talking about. The second aspect is the mob mentality aspect of, if you do not follow this ideology, then you are against XYZ. And I call it sneaky deaky because the reaction that you have, which may be the mind saying, I don't necessarily want to be considered against something from your perception and your point of view, or the point of view of the mass. I don't want to feel that rejection because that goes in survival. Survival, you need people, interaction to a certain degree, So I don't want to feel that rejection. And also I don't want to be labeled or feel that label upon not fitting your box, so I'm going to join in. Instead of the soul's reaction, which is really saying, I am against no one, I do not fit this moniker, and this is not me, to whatever the mind says. So it's a very little quick interaction that kind of happens whenever you kind of feel you're getting blasted by a counter label, because you're not joining in, a mob mentality over something. But it's your mind kind of going, I need to kind of fit that exterior opinion for the survival of being accepted. And not, again, this aspect of not fitting in your negative label from your projection, that exterior projection. Instead of, as soul, you're united with y'all. So that perception of you being that because you don't fit in that box is wrong. Like that's separating you from yourself. That's that feeling of separation because you're part of the all. You're no enemy with anyone, not even as per someone's label. So it's very sneaky because the feeling has been kind of trained and repeated over time. And it's the very same thing you'll notice in various other movements at the time. When you notice that kind of we could call it low level of consciousness because it's a very singular identity, one nation, one aspect, one ideology, one philosophy. It's a very, very low level of consciousness because it's been popping up in history, causing disasters. Again, communism being a very good example, but there's various, whenever it comes to an ideology or a movement that goes me versus another, boom, GG failed. Whenever it causes an aspect of separation or brings an aspect of I'm separated from the other, GG, it's gone, forfeited. Your life is forfeited because there's a constant enemy there. That's why certain people, when they join groups or organizations or doing manifestations, they fought from the ideology that brings a general idea of what is the issue. A general target line, saying this kind of range is the target. This is, a general line, not specific identities or understanding the granularity of what led to those specific identities to cause these things. But when it's just, okay, here's a general line and actions are taken affecting that general line, then there are people that weren't even part of the context that went onto that general line that will now be affected. And that's launching a coin toss of creating your next enemy, or being fortunate enough that the person has a level of consciousness not to react to one's reaction. But it's a coin toss, because certain people will just naturally go, hey, fuck you, I'm not part of this, but now I know that in general people like you are this way, so I'm going on to the other side. It's literally one side creating its own enemy through the aspect of separation and just blind firing. And that's, again, low level of consciousness, because it's a reaction, not understanding not consciously understanding what happens like 10 steps down ahead of this action and the granularity of the impact that it has on people's lives. And to a certain degree, it's a lack of understanding one's own granularity of interaction and momentum of thoughts leading to ideas and leading to momentum. So to a certain degree, you can easily remedy that by just being aware of your hard drive and understanding the separation of mind, body, soul, but also how the hard drive comes to form beliefs and opinions. Because you're not a hard drive. This shit came blank, wiped out, just like everyone else's once you come born. What you ingest afterward is based on your, again, environment, understandings in the moment, momentum, and granular experience of life to the degree that it is spotted and understood at the moment. And you'll always see new layers as you go down further in life. But you can also peel that onion and understanding that you never chose this belief and you never chose to see things a certain way. Instead of repeating a past consciousness point of view, which often happens when it comes to parental beliefs, because they come from a previous stand of consciousness. A previous state of consciousness would be like habits between human beings. We're no longer invading each other's countries or cities. We're no longer far westing, like a lot of rights have changed. So that's various states of consciousness. But whenever you bring back something from a prior state of consciousness as it is from that prior state of consciousness, like taking something from 1999 and talking about it or saying it or expanding it as if it is still 1999, then you're not doing it as if it's 2020. Thus, you're not fully representing the current state of consciousness and understandings that way. So that's how you can easily have people creating elastic effects of reacting to a reaction to a reacting to a reaction, and then saying, okay, this is exactly how this has happened in this prior year. And it's like, well, no, not really. But the momentum and the paying attention to the granularity of the details of things is not present. So it's easy to make quick and fast judgment. How it's easy to react and just kind of, not recenter and kind of go, wait a second. In one's context or experience, there's so much more granularity towards a situation. So just like the old saying, you don't necessarily want to be judged the same way that you're sending it out in that way, right? So why send it out in this specific way? Do unto others the way you want them to do unto you. It's that simple. 2020 version, baby. Yet, again, upon mass reaction, we don't necessarily think to that degree, to that extent. We don't necessarily pace our time and get to that point of thought. Oftentimes you can just ask yourself, how often do I check my state throughout the day? How often do I pay conscious attention to what changes my state throughout the day? What does? Because so many things do, including when it comes to, again, the reactionary aspect of thoughts, but you kind of saw how quickly you can just jam into the subconscious an idea of fear that quickly. and without necessarily challenging it. And you can see how groups and groups of people will just rally under that fear without having, again, it being in their current vicinity. So it's kind of loopy when you notice that you can have your, again, entire state of consciousness in a way because it's filtered through the mind. But you can have that colored by random shit not in your vicinity, and then have that happen. And of course, your karma kind of gets affected by that, because when it comes to that, as explained, the elastic effect, man, well, it's kind of like, it's not the Western way we taught karma, the slap on the wrist. No, the energetic karma and the repetition, which is the repetition, meaning, one, you create your own enemy, but two, you stay stuck in this aspect of thought. You getting stuck in a thought loop with separation and having an enemy and generating an enemy where there may not be. Oftentimes, when you fire blindsided, you don't necessarily see accurately. So you generating an enemy like that and having that kind of thought block your momentum and your creation is the karma. Because you're going to be getting to a certain thought, but you're going to say, no, the enemy is over there. No, this is going to happen because my enemy is there. Well, maybe not. Not even. But it's the thought, the hard drive just holds on to that barrier. The identity. Got to fight for it. It's kind of like when you understand cultural appropriation doesn't exist because throughout time and history we have evolved by sharing technology, by sharing philosophy, by sharing practices. And we have expanded upon these in various directions. Certain directions work, certain didn't. But it's always about this aspect of expansion. Music, technology, philosophy, religion, practices, well-being, wellness. Oprah being an example because she was picking from various. Again, she's doing the thing of just picking from various sources and learning from them all. So you can't stay stuck in this aspect of the mind, saying one culture, one identity, one method of being, and then getting stuck in that trap within the mind, because it's putting its own filter for your own for the mind's reaction. But you're the soul, so you don't necessarily have to abide by the things you didn't consciously select. Because again, did you consciously select that you wanted to react like this all the time? Did you consciously select to affect your friends and the family by something you didn't consciously select in the first place? Did you consciously select to repeat that momentum and then have it affect your life later on? You didn't. Not when you know how it happens 10 steps ahead, and you kind of ask yourself, okay, how would that momentum feel 10 steps ahead upon that repetition? Of course not. But it's not a practiced thing. Yet, again, you pinpoint from various methods, techniques. Play with this, and you'll find something that works with you. But if you stay stuck in the mind, you're going to get played. So played. It's nuts how, just realizing it now. Also referring back to when it happened to gaming, which got me into politics, because initially I didn't give a fuck about politics. And then when politics started to invade gaming, with the various things happening in the background, it's like, okay, well, thought stream kind of going there, and I'm not going to call it wasted, but you understand that instead of having a thought stream over here, I could have had it over in something that was much more productive, much more playful, much more open and expanded. It's that kind of stuff to realize. It's understanding that someone's radical reactions are not my own. So why should I react to their radical reactions? You know what I mean? And how it affects what I output. It's just kind of getting to that point, Having conscious control, understanding how you have conscious control of your output, which is also what you intake. So it's that cycle. And then consciously taking control of it. Distancing yourself from the hard drive and not letting yourself run by patterns you didn't choose, which is straight up patterns of separation. Before you were told that there was another or someone separate, you always had this aspect of curiosity in play. But you weren't, initially bombarded by this aspect of fear and assumptions or perceived assumptions. Because that's another thing. When you get those kind of information, I mean, to a certain degree, any kind of information is an assumption. Yet, you kind of want to be careful to perceptually choose them and understand where they're leading you. And you also want to watch out for what kind of assumptions you're intaking. What is the assumption? Um, it ties a bit with our language, but you also want to be aware of double speech because that's, that little intermingling aspect of assumptions. We're open to everyone except the fuckers who aren't open to us. Double speech naturally accepted because of, just repetition or casual repetition, but not necessarily seeing the flaw in there. And also the aspect of separation that just keeps repeating, keeping the person in this karmic loop. As soon as you have an enemy, as soon as you have an other, as soon as you feel separation from yourself or someone else, that thought pattern repeating itself is your karma. And you're the one repeating your own triggers, your own trigger, in a sense, your own trigger, because it's picked up by the mind, seen as a trigger, and then boom. But you own the mind, so you can change that. You can go into it, again, do the whole trauma cleanup aspect of it, be wholehearted and honest with yourself, go deep into it, keep asking why like a kid, but in a fun and playful method, not like, the unfortunate, to a certain degree, parenting that got us to react to someone else's reaction or someone else's opinion in a both intermingled because one's opinion is kind of intermingled with their reaction intermingled with their opinion, all that linked to the hard drive. But upon the parent not necessarily understanding that you are in a growth state and you don't have their granularity of experience to understand exactly what they would need in the moment, well, let's say a harsh parenting causes this shit loop because you're putting that expectation on them as well until you get to the teenage years and you kind of realize, wait a second, you guys didn't know more than I did. What the fuck? And then rebellion kind of happens to a certain degree. But it's, again, cyclical nature of it all, and it's an unfortunate aspect of it, but you can just move out of it. Fully understanding that parents didn't know what they didn't know at a certain amount of time. Cautiousness expands and evolve at all points, so we all expand and evolve to the degree that we can perceive it or spend time perceiving it too, because you can also get distracted or having your attention caught and react and then have your whole expansion just kind of back into separation mode because you're like, oh, this other person did that, and any other person, any other thing, it's just, okay, you falling for that reaction aspect of reaction. You falling for that separation aspect of reaction. So, well, it's a game. Play it like a game. Don't try to be so serious. And don't fall back into the aspect of hating how you got played, because it happens. Something's going to change with the media, because there's more and more understandings of, again, how anxiety affects your body, affects your cells, and literally leads to breakdowns, and the various other things leading to that. And more understandings are made on the subconscious now because of our merging of information. So it's another really fucking good time. Hashtag with the rainbow. Because if I say it's gonna be a good time or it's gonna be okay, after studying neurolinguistic programming or even affirmations, or even you can even go to witchcraft and incantation, it all merges, people. 2020. After learning that, whenever you say something or an affirmation in the future tense, your brain still localizes it as it's coming, but it's not here. Change that shit and put it in the now so that you feel it in the now. Same kind of goes with any of the changes that you want to play with and change within yourself, because it's all a cleanup work. Again, peeling off the onion layers that we were, kind of got to, because initial hard drive, none of it. So you're just kind of peeling them off one after another. You play with this, asking how it would feel or how it does feel. And you don't get strict about it because that's the mind. It needs it. You don't. It happens at the time it does, at the rate that it does. You just need to play with it. And don't compare, because again, granularity of your own experience. So the whole behavioral aspect of comparing when it comes to that kind of stuff, just chuck it out the window. That was, again, unfortunate issue in passing on stuff from our parents. Just comparing to the other kid, comparing to the other kid in class, all that stuff. Just pick it and chuck it out the window. It doesn't really work in the aspect of competition, more so in an aspect of clarity, as in how would it feel at that state. Not how can I beat this, because there's always going to be another. That's what the mind doesn't necessarily get. There's always going to be another. Just like when it creates enemy, there's always going to be another. There's always going to be another. That's torments of the mind. So move out of that. You ain't a scrub. You ain't a noob. You're new game plusing this shit. So bring it up to the next level consciously and understand that you're consciously creating the next level. So that's fucking cool. And you don't need to rush yourself at that point. It's understanding that there's polarities to everything, including the next level. It's not a good, bad, right, wrong, high level, low level. It's all a polarity. So there's the current state, there's what happened in the past, which could be a second ago, 5 minutes ago, a day ago, and then there's what you've created out of that past to perceive the future. And you don't want to let your mind kind of get stuck, wrapped around the aspect of, this present, which I've created from that past, should have been this future because I can perceive this future. That's a quick little mind thing that could happen at times, and it's completely offset because you needed that experience based on the past to create that future. So you don't necessarily want to get stuck in that weird little loop within oneself. You just kind of go, awesome, this experience taught me how to, and booyah, now I see this new objective, this new goal, this new state, or new level of state. Let me get to it. How does it feel? And you can already gauge it. But don't say, I will get to this, I will get to that, I will have this, I will have that, because you're not feeling it in a moment and you're pushing it. That's something that's been kind of noticed in the little reactionary campaign all over the place, which with good intention, again, it's understanding the polarity of it. There's good intentions, yet the execution was kind of poor when it comes to helping the subconscious mind. And again, we've all kind of noticed the imprints that have been made, cute little hashtag, people talking about a hashtag, the repetition of that thought, the repetition of the most popular news to get you reacting, having that thought being linked to various other things because people are talking about it, various organizations are talking about it, news, sports and all that. So having that link happen all over the place so that the thought is repeated to have the reaction repeated. You just kind of want to be careful about that. It's kind of like when you ingest a TV series, there's a certain mood and expectation of narrative momentum that you keep repeating and expect after that repetition. It's similar to that. Which is why, to a certain degree, you don't want to let your imagination be hijacked by anything. Because when you understand, your imagination creates your future. Even creates your current moment in a certain way. Because of the way that your repeated mood, your repeated expectation, your repeated possible assumptions or non-assumptions, behaviors of that. All of that influences your thought process, which influences your mood, which influences your output. So when you kind of understand, your imagination kind of creates a lot of that. A lot. And if your imagination kind of gets hijacked by a popular thought process or popular mood, a popular narrative, the popular roller coaster narratives as well, which creates popular expectations. So you can kind of see how you don't necessarily want to leave that in someone else's control. You kind of have the controller in your hand. It's being mindful of your states, and consciously taking the time to do so and playing with this. You don't need to have it 100%. You just need to play with this, but cautiously be in a state of control and acknowledging your control, because you always had it. It's just that you were never told how. And also, we didn't have the technology merging and all of that. We didn't have the different understandings and philosophies and the various perspectives. So It's just knowing you already had that within. Now, are you going to take the time to have that control or not? You know, you choose. And now you kind of have a bit of a lowdown on why and what it kind of causes. You know, what you output both onto yourself, inner dialogue as well, and onto others. You know, do you want to really want to spew out this thing, this mood you didn't necessarily choose? Really? This, again, lack of granularity type of information. Do you want to spew this out? Do you choose those moods? Do you really want to choose those moods? 10 steps ahead. Do you want to choose that momentum? You just need to choose. And it's natural. It's not a finger pointing thing. It's just, okay, you're consciously saying, okay, I got this. I'm taking this on hold, both in an aspect of playfulness, because you got to be playful about it. You don't want to let the mind go, it has to be this way. I got to be perfect. There is no perfection. Again, polarities, different states. Or just, you know, play with this. And just kind of own up to it, knowing that your impact, your output impacts other people, like ripple effects, and you can cause the elastic band effect in a negative way or in a positive way. Who knows? You choose, but you always kind of want to ask yourself: is this a kind of a behavior I would want reflected on myself, with the same level or lack of level of context from the other person's perspective? Same lack of context on my context, you know? Is that the same way I want that behavior? Yes or no? In the momentum down the line, is this behavior going to help? Do I like having this mood? Literally just sitting with yourself with those questions and asking. Do I want to continue that mood? Do I want to continue to perceive that way? Do I want to continue being affected to perceive that way? Do I like feeling this shit over and over, right? Because I have control. I can just say fucking no and not fall into the double down explain of just, oh, well, if you don't join us, then you're this. And then falling for that sneakful trap of the mind for the soul, you know? Because remember, two different messages. So, you choose. But 2020, we got played, but we learned. So, and we're grateful, because if we didn't learn, well, then it'd be repeating over and over and over. Kind of needed that triple hit bombardment to kind of get how that affected us ever since the internet. And how it affected our parents with the newspaper. Again, events not even in your vicinity, hasn't even happened to you a second ago. Just something that came in, an imagery that was told to you, or even shown, to get you to react. And then, in a sense, infect or affect others with that same vibe that you didn't consciously choose. Would you consciously choose that 10 steps after? Not really. It's kind of like understanding good intentions are there, yet the execution doesn't understand the aspect of the whole, the all. The execution always sees separation, one or versus another, one or the other, one ideology versus another. You know, and this is what reacting just passes on a quick fly. That becomes normal. Well, it's not really normal when you think about it. So, and yeah, it's kind of like understanding kids weren't dumb. It's this aspect of being present. Again, I'm going back to this story about the interviewed natives in the forest. And it's like, why are you talking to me about Jesus? Is he doing it right now? Is it happening right now? So why are you talking to me about it? You know, some of their terminologies mostly being focused on the present. Yes, there's an aspect of balance here and there, but there's an aspect of presence, being in the present, in the moment, and not letting your thoughts, your mood, your person, your behavior being affected by something that's not even in your present moment. Not letting your person be affected, you know, or being changed without your conscious decision, you know. You take that choice. Do I consciously want to spew that kind of stuff out? Do I constantly want to repeat this mood? And you don't leave it on other people. That's the eternal trap, because that brings separation, and that says, oh, you don't have choice to make those choices. It's someone else's. Separation, trap, eternal trap. You'll keep that karma going. It's a thought, repeated thought. You'll keep it going. It'll always be another, it'll always be someone else's fault. It will always be the fault of something in the past, instead of seeing it, mending it, and then striving from it. It's all on your time and choice. And yeah, I know, it's a bit of a challenge. You gotta fight the dopamine addiction that these fucking devices brought. Again, unfortunate consequences of our evolution, but in technology. But yeah, we didn't fucking know this aspect of dopamine and how quickly that shit impacts us. So that's another thing you kind of want to deal with, along with your subconscious little blockers of, can I do it or can I, you know? So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to do it. Take a crack at it. I say free flow it, go with the flow, and then step back when you feel you need to step back. Just and build that inner relationship, build that inner dialogue, build that inner communication. And you're going to start feeling out when you get that feeling of separation and what it means. And then you start cleaning shit up, because you never chose to get that in the first place. Again, zero hard drive when you come in. So once you remember that, everyone's the same. But at the same time, they're not, because of the granularity of their experience. Yet at the same time, that uniqueness is also a similarity we all have. The granularity of that uniqueness is a similarity we all have. So here's non-duality, just playing ping pong with you here, but it's some terminologies to understand that it is and it isn't at the same time. So you don't rack yourself in a single direction that the survival mind just keeps you in. Reaction, single direction, one way, one method, one idea, one method. React, separation, because you're not part of y'all. You see another. So don't let you get self. Don't let you get self get played. Trying to do a macho man. Don't let you get self played in 2020. Have fun with this. Alright? Have fun with this. And also, do not try to push this on people, because there's also a level of readiness. When you understand the subconscious has little barriers like that, can you do it? Can it happen? Or the aspect of ideology. You understand what can keep people stuck in those mindsets. Or even when they follow group mentality. So when you understand how easily that is and how, they can remain stuck, don't push it. It's not necessarily something you want to spend time arguing with, because it drags you back into that and that kind of vibe. And also, it's not their fault. Remember, you repeat a subconscious idea over and over and over, and we've had studies, science, multiple studies. You repeat that idea over and over and over, and it becomes real for you. So some people will not move out of their ideology or out of the way that they've seen certain things until an event happens. And oftentimes osmosis kind of just gets them to go, oh, what's going on? Wow. People being happy, oh my God. How dare you be happy? You should be sad. No, but it's like, certain people are like that, And it's like, they'll just go, okay, whoa, what's going on? What's happening? Something's changing in the air, They might just step away from the news and start noticing cool shit happening outside, So you don't really want to spend time with them. You don't want to be forceful about it. You want to be understanding of their momentum. And again, osmosis happens. Or there's other metaphysical ways. But don't be forceful, because you also understand how you didn't get any of this at the point in time that you didn't get it. There were a point in time where you just didn't get this shit. Or you weren't even looking at, hey, what's processing in my brain? How do I feel about this all? How do I feel about my day? How do I feel about my job? How do I feel about my situation? There was a point in time where you didn't think about it, or you thought about it with a negative aspect of the mind. So understand, time. Just play with this. Just play, okay? In 2020, we ain't getting played. No, we do the playing. Just pick up the control, man. And feel free to ask any questions. Later, guys. And again, sorry, Microsoft. Don't put your video recording on low battery, on power saver mode. We won't tell you while you mute the mic for your power saving. What the fuck, man? It worked for a Skype call, but not for this. Microsoft. Sorry again. Thanks again for noticing it. I'll be diligent with this recording. Might even get a better mic.